ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the ESOC Autumn Championships of 2016. This is game number 1 in a best of 3 series, I believe, between Lionsden and, of course, Marco1698. I hope those are the correct numbers at the end of his name. I cannot see. It says launching game in front of his name. 1698. Oh, baby.
Yeah, that's a brave man right there, like trying to list out someone's numbers when you can't see numbers.
He was born quite a long time ago. Most people put their date of birth at the end of the name there. He's quite an old fellow, this Marco guy. Been playing age 3 for a long time. In all seriousness, he actually has been. This guy is a captain, I believe, with several thousand games played. So definitely someone with, at least not anything else, a lot of experience playing Age of Empires at 3 and has been doing so for a long time. Lionsden, on the other hand, is a second lieutenant and has also played several thousand games of Age of Empires 3. So definitely looking forward to that. Though, when you have one player as a captain and one's a second lieutenant, you can usually figure out who's going to win. But we have seen crazier upsets in ESOC tournaments, and we must also remember that being second lieutenant doesn't necessarily mean that it could be somebody else. Could be someone who's come back after a long break. It could be somebody who's just much better than that rank. So we really could see anything here today. But what we do see, Zuta, is a Dutch mirror by the looks of it. Spawning in the right-hand side of the map, we do have Lionsden there, and in the left, Marco. What do you think of the Dutch mirror?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know a ton about the Dutch changes that have been implemented in the ESOC patch, but one thing that I do remember watching was I was watching Kaiser's stream, I think it was Kaiser's stream a little while ago, and it appears that banks are significantly cheaper, so they've reduced the cost of banks, and they've readjusted the number of banks that you can actually have in the given ages. So you can't get up to 6 banks in the second age just for free anymore. I believe it's 5, but banks are a little bit cheaper. And Dutch's overall perceived power level, it seems like, as a result of that, has gone up significantly, in such a way that we see both players, choosing Dutch to begin with. Now, certainly Dutch is also a civilization that does not require a trading post. It's often one of those civs that we see quite frequently on non-TP maps, just due to the fact that they have other ways to boom. And so I think those are a couple of the reasons why we're going to see Dutch here in this first game. Their perceived power level seems like it's pretty high on the new patch. And similarly, no TP really going to be required to help Dutch get going in the early game. So we'll see how that pawns out.
And perhaps that's why they've selected Dutch for this first map. Yeah. But it was a bit interesting. I knew that they had made some adjustments. As you mentioned, I'm pretty sure it is 5 banks as well. Was surprised to hear that they are now cheaper. And I think, yes, I could have done some research and looked at all of the changes, but equally, I think it's really nice to talk about them, talk about all these changes, especially in these earlier rounds here, where perhaps the players aren't as strong, and later on, we really do need to know what we're talking about. So I will definitely look at all the changes. Naturally, I have been intending. Oh, cow does get deleted there, and looks like the red and purple envoy definitely very nearby. One cow is denied. Perhaps he could have got that back to his base, but chose to delete it there anyway.
That's a Zutazuta delete right there. If there's another unit in line of sight anywhere, it's just got to be deleted. Like, just sacrifice to the gods.
Perhaps he didn't think. Perhaps he had no idea where his opponent, the Explorer, was, and thought maybe it's just not worth it. I'll just delete it here and get it back. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to talk about the changes in these earlier rounds of the tournament. So we will be doing that. And something you mentioned was that you do not need a trading post to play Dutch. And, it's true. Obviously, you want to be spending your wood on banks, and that looks like what both these players will be doing now, switching all of their villages, or lots of them, over to wood, both in transition currently, and we'll be getting the resources together for a bank. But I did see the player, where is he? 90 wood there goes to Lionsden. That is a lot of wood, and when you get those kind of treasures, you're usually going to be pretty happy for your trading post, but obviously you're not going to be getting a trading post with Dutch. Instead, it will be a bank, and Lionsden going to be definitely very happy about that. So we'll see those first banks going down any moment now. But Envoy, the red one, is caught by these two. Looks like Lionsden able to deny that scout there, and of course that means less scouting information for his opponent in purple. A little bit of XP up as well.
Yep, and I love the point you make about the 90 wood, because that's so influential in the early game, in almost any early game macro-ish start. Certainly if you're going to play really aggressively and your opponent has that 90 wood, maybe not quite as good, because maybe it'll encourage them to almost overinvest and not deal with your rush. But in a matchup like a Dutch mirror, where both civilizations are almost certainly going to be making a fair amount of economic gains in the early portions of the match, really beneficial to have that nice early 90 wood. And we'll see how Lionsden uses it.
We do see a bit of a conflict with the explorers here. This is Lionsden time to get even. He has not managed to catch him in hand combat there, though. And now I think it might be a bit too late to be able to kill that explorer, given that he's just received 100 extra hit points from hitting up to the next stage there. I Am Grunt is its name. But, yeah, he's going to escape there. Looks like Lionsden not going to be able to kill that explorer or get into hand combat with it or anything like that. But banks, by the looks of it, have been decreased from 350 wood and 350 food to just 300 wood and 350 wood. So a 50 wood saving there overall. Of course, both players electing to put down a bank during the Age 1 whilst during transition. Looks like the only notable differences here so far is that Marco going to put his bank on the front, and looks like Lionsden going to put it in the back there.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan in general of Lionsden's his building placement so far. He's got both his market and both of his banks way in the back side of his base. That's some pretty valuable real estate back there, especially if you're going to deal with some sort of time push at some point in the game to be able to put down your barracks or your stable in a really safe, defendable position. And instead, he's got some of his early economic buildings that aren't as worth defending way in the back there.
Yep.
And we'll see whether or not that actually ends up being significant for him. Probably not, due to the fact that it looks like both players just playing fairly economically, and there's not going to be any sort of pressure. But it still is a little bit questioning to me why he's opting to put all of his buildings so defensively behind his base.
Yeah. There is that, using up all the room there. And certainly they can be on the front and tank up some of the damage from things like falconets, if that does come into play, of course. Dutch does not have that as a shipment, so less likely to see it. A house coming quite far out there, perhaps, to act as a line of sight. But so far, both players are doing identical builds. This is the first deviation we've seen, of course. Both 3 villages in the first stage, nothing to say about that. And then 700 wood being used, by the looks of it, to get down these banks. And then, by the looks of it, yeah, we do see the red player adding in his stable first. I wonder if he has anything in queue. Let's take a look at the units in queue. Hussars, whilst his opponent is not got a military building down. And if we take a look at the shipment sent, has elected to go with 600 wood as well. So is playing, significantly more boomy here. Going to get all 5 banks down, presumably. And I did notice him research steel traps as well. So Lionsden positioning himself as the economic player here, as the one with the stronger economy, setting up for the later game. But that could make him a little bit vulnerable to those Fortress Age timings. Barracks is coming down now, and 5 Hussars coming across the map. I don't think Zuta is going to be able to get anything out in time to stop those cavalry running him ragged.
Yeah, and I like the point that you made here with the differentiation of the builds. The 600 wood certainly is going to be useful for getting that 5th bank down, and like you mentioned, also allows him to get steel traps. But on the other hand, Marco has got cavalry out across the map, and Lionsden has only got a barracks coming up just now. So in terms of military units, certainly you could maybe make a few pikes if you had a little bit more wood.
Yeah,
but
that in queue right now.
yeah, it's still going to be a little sketchy. I mean, 5 pikes.
He does keep it, yeah. Go ahead.
You have to be very careful with how you allocate those pikes to be able to defend all your resources. In a map like Bengal, his resources are already starting to run a little thin. If you take a look, to the top side of his base, a lot of dead hunts over there. He's got a couple of animals up here to the front side that he can use. And after that, this cavalry presence could really cause him some issues.
Here it comes. 5 pikes is not going to stand up to this, even if he wanted it to. He cannot defend his hunts. Here comes a bunch of cav. Those 4 there, closest to the pike, might get away. Whilst waiting for the others to come down. No, he's going to harass the fills, but I would fully expect Marco here to perhaps just full-on engage the pikes. What do you think of that? Or do you think he's afraid of Minutemen or something like that?
I think he should have. I mean, there is the realistic threat of Minutemen popping out, and he did keep all of his cav alive, but I think he could have turned to engage on the pikes there. Realistically, I don't think 5 pikes is enough to scare away 8 Hussar.
But at the same time, though, Lionsden probably pretty happy about this. He's seen a second batch of cav come out from his opponent, and all that's going to do, right, is slow his age up down. Given that Lionsden has built all 5 banks, has got steel traps, has been investing economically here, he is now positioned to do really well. This is exactly what he wanted, a bit of extra time before any pressure landed down. And now we see what is effectively, how many Hussars is that? It was effectively 2 batch. I think there's 8 there. So what's 8 times 200? That's like 1,600 resources. Really not doing anything. And he hasn't actually managed to kill a villager either. There is this treasure that perhaps he might be going for. But that, I don't think is hugely... I think actually Lionsden going to be really happy about his position right now.
Yeah, the one thing that I don't necessarily like about him, we've got a couple interesting things going on here. We've got, first of all, the church coming up, but the first thing I want to mention is that Lionsden is up significantly earlier. He didn't invest in the cavalry like we mentioned, just the barracks and the couple pike to be able to stabilize. Both players have very similar economies right now. Both have 5 banks. Both have their markets up. Lionsden is slightly ahead in terms of what he's actually got in terms of market upgrades. But other than that, infrastructure-wise, very, very similar. But if we take a look at what cards Lionsden is sending next, he has sent Religious Freedom as his 4th card here as Dutch, and is just opting for more banks in a saloon in the back. So by the looks of things, he's not going to be too bothered by the fact that he doesn't have a lot of hunt. He's just going to continue to drop down more and more banks.
There's 1,000 wood.
And then perhaps make saloon units and maybe even pop the Stratiots from the Religious Freedom card.
I think that's exactly what he's going to do. He's just sent 1,000 wood by the looks of it. 4 does come in for the villager, but the pikes, their presence is going to send them away and nullify the investment of those resources into the cav there. They are still not doing anything, and they will continue to not doing anything. And their resources invested in Hussar, which at this point in the game, frankly, aren't going to be as good as resources invested into veteran skirmishers and, of course, the Reuters as well. But back to the point I was making, if I can remember what it was. Yes, he's got 1,000 wood there, right, which he's using to build houses with, lots of houses. And that's going to support population space for the mercenaries and whatever else he intends to train by the looks of it. Mercenaries don't actually use up extra population like the outlaws do, which was initially what I thought. But still, he is going to need that 1,000 wood, very efficient shipment for all the infrastructure that is going to be going down here. Skirms coming in, they're going to pick off those pikemen. Nice job there. Does take 1 shot. A little bit of damage on that skirmisher, but not particularly significant here. Fusiliers do come out. Oh, baby.
That's a good one.
That's
a good one.
Big, strong Musk-type units, right?
Yeah, very, very strong units, and especially in this matchup, right? Against an opponent who open, stable, is going to have a decent number of Hussars just because you've seen him train at least 8. Traditionally, Reuters come into play very early on for most Dutch players, and if you think about what Fusiliers represent, they represent a good way of dealing with all of that, right?
Here's Hackapels in queue as well. Oh, Fusilier Hackapel combo, jeez. That is something.
He's also got the ability to send the Stratiots from the
he does.
from the Religious Freedom card as well. So we'll see whether or not he ends up making any sort of power play around that timing. Maybe he wants to get a batch of Hackapels out and then push with his 8 skirms and 5 Fusiliers. That could maybe be a decently strong timing. But at the same time, I mean, on the other side of this, Marco is
he does have a town center going down on the south side of the map by the looks of it as well.
Wow,
so he's investing 600 of that wood from earlier into an economic building that here in this fight probably isn't going to help very much. The batch of Hackapels has arrived here, and yes, there was some sort of interesting timing there, and these units are really strong, and maybe Marco will see these units and think, oh god, I'm not sure how strong these are, I'm not sure if I can take this fight. But at the end of the day, he has a very large army, right? And actually, I do think skirmishers and Reuters, just ordinary units in general, do beat the mercenaries in terms of cost efficiency, unless you're, of course, training Mamelukes or something, but that's a different story entirely. But, you've got Reuters, which hard counter the cavalry, and there's not that many of them, and these things in particular are quite weak in terms of the amount of hit points they have, not very strong units, and the Fusiliers are, at the end of the day, effectively musketeers going up against this large mass of skirmishes, which is growing and growing. The one thing that is going good for Lionsden, though, is that Red is not pressuring him yet. Oh, here it comes. The Red is on the move. And given that he's invested so many resources into that town center and that the Hackapels are halfway across the map, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hold this, even if everything was together. Just look at that Red army, right, Zutazuta?
Yeah, this is really, really scary. And if you take a look at the villagers, right, they're starting to run out of coin. He's starting to come out into more difficult positions to defend. And realistically, look at Marco's army. 40 skirmishers and 35 Reuters. He's just got an absolutely insane mass going for him right now.
He's popping his head out. Purple, go away. It looks like
there's no way that Purple can expect to hold this if Marco just pushes in right now.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like he's going to, maybe he might be coming. Yeah, he's seen it now, right? He's just seen this small batch of purple units there next to that Iron Grunt Explorer, and I think that's going to signal go time here. It looks like, everything coming in. It looks like he's got his control groups getting up. The thing I'm getting concerned about for Marco now is, we do see Hackapel's raiding, nicely done, and this is luring all of the veteran Reuters away. This is good for Lionsden at the moment, because I think at this point in time he cannot possibly hold this, though at the same time looks like he's being headed off on all sides. Really nicely done from Marco splitting up here, and this is a huge amount of resources. These Hackapels, 300 coin each. Look at them melting away almost instantaneously, and that represents a lot of points on the score now gone, and red even further ahead. Look at that, almost 100 points up.
Yeah, well, look at the military unit population, 99 to 42 right now. And despite the fact that, yes, he did lose a couple villagers, maybe he's down, behind a bank or something like that in terms of like building infrastructure. There's no way that Purple can attempt to hold this. Like, I mean, he just rolls over and dies 100% if Marco just attack moves into almost anywhere in Lion's Den space at this point in the game.
Yeah, I was going to say the only thing I'm getting worried about for Marco is that it seems like there's almost 50 units on each control group there, and when that happens, it can start to get a bit dicey with regards to unit control, but it doesn't look like that's going to be a problem at all. He just lost all his hack capels. There doesn't seem to be any response here. 3 falconets in the back there, and I don't think that, well, he's got a lot of infantry on the front, but I think the Fusiliers can be picked off relatively easily by the skirmishers, and that looks like what is happening. And he's taking this fight without the cannons, and there's one in the back, slowing the other 2 down, setting up. This is not what he wants at all. Cannons now active, but Hussars on top of the cannon there hasn't even taken a single shot, and most of the units have gone. Stradius do arrive, but there's a huge mass of Reuters there, and they're blocked by the bank and the house as well, so they're not able to get into combat. Still walking around, have just started fighting. Minutemen do arrive as well. Cannons doing damage to the Reuters. That's not where they want to be shooting. Have now been retasked onto the skirmishers there, do some damage, but all of Purple's units melting away, and this looks like a decisive victory coming out from Marco, really without having to do too much here.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't super clean from Marco either, right? He let the Fusiliers get up into hand combat with the Reuters, kind of got a little bit caught out of position with the Minutemen and the Stradians coming from the town center, but truth be told, there just wasn't enough for Lion's Den in this fight, and like we mentioned, right, attack move in, let the AI figure the rest of it out, because your army advantage was just so massive. There's really nothing Purple could hope to accomplish in that fight.
Yeah, I think it just straight up comes down to the build order decision here. We see Lion's Den going with the church, which is a non-standard opening, building non-standard units from the saloon, which perhaps don't just stand up very well to ordinary troops, which I think in terms of cost efficiency are stronger. Also does not help that Lion's Den invested 600 wood from that 1,000 shipment into a town center here, which by the looks of it has trained just 2 villagers, which, yes, he has a villager advantage and has maintained that advantage throughout the entire game, but as you can see here, it counts for nothing when Marco stands in your base with a very large army and destroys everything.
I mean, if you take a look at the resources at the end of the game, Lion's Den actually had significantly more resources. He was up, 900 resources over the course of the game. Yeah. But I mean, just look at this. Look at the spending, really. I mean, when it comes right down to it, Marco just dumped all of his resources into more effective army that was all present in the fight at the same time, instead of kind of just trickling in a couple cannons, trickling in a batch of Stradians, trickling in units a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Just fought with them all at the same time, and really decisive outcome.
Yeah, I think that's the big point there in that fight as well, where Red had everything working for him, and Purple had the cannon on the back and all the units on the front taking hits before the cannons could get there. Even if he had a fair amount of units, it was a fair fight, he still the fight was not executed very well, I would say, from Lion's Den. But that is game number 1, and I'm sure, well, this was a pretty interesting build. Perhaps he has some more things up his sleeve, we'll have to see. But Lion's Den does take this loss, and we will now be going into game number 2 in this best of 3 series. All right.
True that. Marco's actually PR29. I didn't realize that. I was actually about to comment and say, oh, Marco actually played, I think, significantly better than the captain. He played pretty well. And then I looked at his PR, and he's actually a major. So
I just want to check the chat. Is everything going on all right? All right. All right, you ready for the next one, Mr. Zuta?
I'm super ready.
Oh, baby.
High Plains next map, interestingly enough. Pretty pretty bread and butter map to the ESO tournament series. I think we've seen this map ever since like the original. I think it was like one of the very first.
I'm going to interrupt you there. I want to start the recording and then you can go and talk about High Plains.
Go talk about the maps.
You just start. All right. 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 2 in this best of 3 series between Marco1698 and lionsden. A decisive victory coming out of, I'm not even going to say the player, just in case you haven't seen the first game, so go back and see that. This map, ESOC High Plains, very similar to Great Plains. Zuta, what do you think of this?
Yeah, this is one of my, favorite maps, right? Any Great Plains variation has always been near and dear to my heart. Second only to Siberia, I would say, in terms of like favorite general map style, abundance of hunts, and realistically, kind of fixing a little bit of the imbalance with the TP that the original Great Plains has. It still baffles me to this day how the meta evolved to the point where people actually realized that the middle TP on Great Plains was so imbalanced that it had to literally be removed. Like, it was just impossibly imbalanced, right? Like, we played with Great Plains for 7 years before the meta developed enough to realize that it was just brokenly overpowered. Like, you could literally sprint to the middle socket and get it every single time with civs that started with 200 wood.
Yeah, and when you both sprint for the middle, it wasn't fair at all as to who would get it and stuff. Yeah, definitely. Perhaps one of the least fair things. Effectively, just the player who gets it is so far ahead in terms of the shipment progression for the rest of the game. But High Plains maintains what everybody likes about Great Plains, I think, whilst, as you say, removes the imbalance, and I think is just a really nice map overall. I think it really is quite nice for Spain here as well, given that they can and often do like to send advanced trading posts, and there are lots of extra trading posts on this map relative to ordinary Great Plains. I know H2O has a build that he is fond with. Perhaps we will see that there today from lionsden, but this is ESOC patch, ladies and gentlemen. Portuguese and the Spanish being selected here. Definitely not civilizations that you would see very often on Robot Patch.
Yeah, certainly not. I mean, arguably 2 of the weakest Great Plains-esque civilizations on Robot Patch. So,
they're waiting for that.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how this ends up shaken out. But yeah, Ports versus Spain, going to be match number 2.
I'm really interested to see how this pans out. Portuguese, of course, on this patch. I'm going to green in here to let them know that I am ready as well. Oh, we are beginning. Taunt 31 indeed. As I was saying, though, Portuguese on this patch has reduced villager cost, which I'm sure almost everyone is aware of by now if you play on the ESOC patch at all. But we will cover the differences and changes, I think. I think that's a good thing to do for those that perhaps are not aware, which I believe is quite a large number of people. But if you go by the people that view my YouTube channel, I've said this before, but about 70% of all the views come from people who do not subscribe. So I assume that they would appreciate this kind of information. Yes, Portuguese, they start with 7 villages, and their villages cost 10 less food as well. Were there any other changes made? I'm not sure, but I'm sure we will talk about that later on. But here he is, the Portuguese player in the south of the map, Marco1698. The game will begin any moment now. His opponent, though, will also be spawning with just the 1 wood crate there. Spain, 6 villages, as always. Much faster shipments. We all know this. What do you think of this matchup? What do you think of that spyglass?
So I'm actually a super big fan of that spyglass, and let me tell you why. That spyglass means your explorer doesn't have to go down in that direction, right? He saw a treasure, and it's not a very impactful treasure. And by the way that, just how treasures naturally spawn, you can pretty much guarantee there's not going to be like another treasure within a decent range of that one, right? And so realistically, there's a pretty low probability that there's like an extra treasure back here that's that you need to get whatsoever, right? And so really good spyglass allows him just to move up and to the left, so he doesn't have to come back, double down to the right, at least for the time being. Which is really, really good for him. If we think about the early creeping advantages that Spain has, in the fact that they have that war dog, they have a little bit better in just vision in general because they have the extra unit running around the map, unveiling treasures. A nice little advantage there for the Portuguese player. Spyglass one direction, walk the other. and then you kind of cover your bases in terms of treasures as well. So I actually really, really like that spyglass. Some people might think like, oh, it's kind of dumb, right? It's down off to the side, doesn't really tell him anything. Tells him a whole bunch. Tells him there's not a good treasure down there. Tells him where his next hunt is. You can see like that one bison was like just in the vision of the spyglass. It tells him a whole load, and as a result of that, lots and lots of good information there for him.
Yeah. Also, 140 food is being picked up, whilst and he also finds an 80 food treasure as well, which I'm surprised that he hasn't rushed straight towards down here for like a super early age up or something like that, whilst his war dog continues to scout. Blue, however, it does equalize. He finds an 80 wood, which I think is perhaps about almost as good. It's certainly very strong. 80 wood, definitely. A lot of villager seconds, but not going to be as impactful perhaps as the food, which is going to get him up faster.
Yeah, it just depends on what you're going to do, right? I mean, realistically, the 140 food probably doesn't mean that much for Spain, because truth be told, I mean, he's probably going to age up at 15 population either way. I mean, maybe it guarantees that he's not going to have any idle time in a 15 pop age up, but that's about all that it really does, because he's still going to do a 15 pop age up. Just otherwise, it's just a little bit awkward. The 80 wood, however, could mean trading posts, could mean all sorts of things.
It's definitely going to be trading posts. Look at that. Advanced trading post does arrive for the Portuguese player, and this makes a lot of sense to me. Earlier I was saying Spain can do an advanced trading post build largely because they have extra shipments. They have the XP to spare on a shipment like advanced trading post whilst maintaining 3 villages and not really slowing down at all for the colonial age and all those big impactful shipments there. Portuguese also can do that and has done that. Here we see advanced trading posts come out. They do not have a 3 villager shipment, so it makes a lot of sense that this would be the first card that is sent. But sadly, the War Dog and the Explorer is going to be able to attack this low HP Explorer, which of course was fighting that grizzly bear earlier. I saw that Marco didn't make too much of an attempt to, looks like he's going to lose the Explorer entirely, and the ATP shipment is effectively going to be nullified here because the Explorer is not going to be able to even finish that first trading post. I wonder if he'd stayed on it, if he'd managed to get at least one up, and then he at least has a little base there, since it will have a ranged attack. I'm not sure if it would have gone up. Maybe getting it back towards his town center was the thing to do. Either way, a villager is now coming in to rebuild that there, and he will be able to stand up the Explorer when they get to the next age, which, as we can see, Ace has added in a... Oh, no, that's an XP bar? Is that... I thought that was an aging bar just above the flags. What is that bar?
No, I think it's in... Shit, I don't know what it is. What is it? It's not the XP, because the XP is the little green one underneath it.
It must be the maging. Text being researched.
Okay.
It's absolutely...
You're right.
It has to be.
Right.
There's nothing else it could be. But it's not a smooth line, but that's fine. Like, you can still sell that they're aging there. Anyway, he's going to be able to stand that Explorer up, but the War Dog's still fairly nearby. Perhaps that's very, very deliberate of him. And let's take a look at shipment sent again. I wonder, because we do see Spain adding in a trading post as well. No, he's just going to build the one by the looks of it without the trading post here, and is, by the looks of it, going to be... we'll have to see what his first colonial age shipment is, but my suspicion, given the amount of food that he has managed to stockpile, is that he's going to go for a fast fortress here, which I'm definitely a big fan of. I wonder, though, if it will be... how it will play against a Portuguese player with 2 town centers and, of course, lots of these trading posts with ranged attacks as well.
Yeah. Not sure what he's doing here. I would love to see this town center go down somewhere, like right up here, so that he can try and continue to secure more of the map. It looks like he's trying to make a general map play here, and he's kind of failing to do so far. I mean, he's had to send villagers to the south and way like northeast portions of his base just to build these 2 trading posts. The third one that he was planning on building was denied by Gibson and is now being kind of taken over by this tower as well. And as a result, his map play is kind of backfiring. He's wasted a lot of villager seconds running around.
Yeah.
He's only got 2 trading posts secured so far, and he's invested his Age 1 card into trying to get those trading posts. So far, not really the best case scenario for Marco, and we'll see whether or not he's able to recover.
Town center only just going down, and as you mentioned, an enormous number of villager seconds have been sort of taken from him, from having to walk the villages around, from having to build these trading posts, which with a villager takes for some reason an enormously longer period of time than with just your Explorer here. Comes down, the Juan de Curos is now going to siege this town center, and before we even get it up fully built, it's going to have some damage on it, and given that he is up against a fast fortress, every drop of HP he can get on all of his buildings is going to mean Well, yeah, certainly if it was on this TC, but yeah, we do see.
And just
go ahead.
Look at how much time he spent just walking villagers around.
Yeah.
There's 2 villagers that have gone up there. There's a villager that's walked all the way out here, and there's a villager that's walked all the way out here. Portuguese does not have villager shipments in the early portions of the game, and so that means of his 13 or so starting villagers, he spent at least a solid minute with at least 4 villagers just wandering around the map, which is hugely impactful to your early game economy. And as a result, I'm kind of nervous to see whether or not he's able to get his economy really booming whatsoever, because truth be told, he's spent a lot of time just randomly roaming around the map. And to Gibson's credit, right? I mean, give credit where credit is due. He did a very good job of using his War Dog and his Explorer effectively in the early game to kind of shut down that trade post.
Here comes 8 pikemen. This is I wonder what he's aging up with. We can actually tell if I go over to text being researched. We can see that he is aging up with the Exile. No, he's not. That's that other guy. The Sergeant at Arms, which I believe will give him 8 pikemen as well. So he's going to have 16 pikemen. I wonder if he's creating any units in queue. Creating 5 musketeers. Has war dogs in queue as well. Looks like Lionsden is gearing up for an incredibly fast and aggressive fast fortress here. He's going to have a ton of, clearly he's got 8 pikes. He's going to have 8 more pikes. Here comes 5 musketeers. All the war dogs. Does not get a second batch of musketeers out. You can get 10 out if you time everything nicely, but did actually end up spending that excess food on the war dogs, and will have a very, very large, infantry army anyway. And the first shipment he's going to be able to send will be the, of course, cannons. 2 falconets, going to be very well protected by all of these infantry, and here just going to take down this trading post and then start sieging that town center, which, as I mentioned earlier, has taken a little bit of damage already, and that's going to be quite meaningful. I think it's going to give him less time. Here comes Minutemen, and those are potentially going to be able to scare these pikemen away. Pike not very well geared up to deal with the Minutemen. War dogs, though, fortunately are.
The war dogs are really, really good here just for that purpose of denying the Minutemen, killing them, and you can use some of the musketeers as well to help just kind of dissuade those Minutemen.
Here's the 2 Falcons. They have arrived though, and it looks like some 4 skirms in queue for the Lion's Den player as well. They do arrive there, so now going to start. Castadors do arrive. These are going to be really, really strong against the pike. When you need to get back, Blue, or perhaps you do stay there. I feel like I ought to run away there and wait for the Falcons to scare off these. Going to lose a lot of the. This is exactly what that Marco needs. He needs this opportunity to take down as many of these pikes as possible. The cannons are the huge problem here, and if he can get rid of those cannons, he's going to be in a reasonable spot for the rest of the game. He's got ATP going, he's got a few trading posts, he's got 2 town centers, now 3 with this 3rd one that's just finished building here. And if he can get rid of some of these pikemen, he'll be able to take down the cannons much, much more easily, and then this Spanish fast fortress won't snowball as hard, and he'll perhaps be able to deflect it here. Another pikeman does go down.
Couple important things I want to point out very quickly. First of all, Lion's Den very all in with his economy. If you take a look at the economic unit population, 21 villagers versus 23. So there's not been any sort of economic follow-up here. He does have a couple of the trading posts coming, which is going to be nice for him, but he's not going to have a ton of economy behind this. Or at least not as much as, an FFing player with 5 vills or something like that would have, right? He also, I don't believe, has a market or any sort of market upgrades. No, just doing a quick scan. I don't see anything like that. So no market upgrades, nothing like that. Very, very kind of just naked FF straight into military production. He's got to be very careful with how he protects these 2 falconets and how he uses the next couple shipments here, the Lancers specifically. Going to be very, very strong for him to make for a very strong power play.
Yeah, and it's going to have to pay off. I wonder how powerful it can be, though, given that he lost quite a lot of the infantry there, and these cannons will be harder to protect. Still a very large army, and to his credit, actually, has got the trading posts behind this as well, which with the stagecoach is going to be pretty good. Come on, these war dogs, though, they do need to come back down, and right, so ultimately, what's going on right now? He needs to push, right? Like, the sooner the better. He does not have the economy set up for this, and I wonder if investing into the trading post was like maybe those resources would be better as units. You really need to overpower the opponent quickly with this build, right? But equally, trading post is definitely going to net a lot of resources, and I wonder if that will actually help with regards to a timing push. Maybe he's waiting on another shipment and another batch of units, which these trading posts are going to make possible, and then, all answers does arrive. Perhaps it's go time now.
Yeah, the good thing is, right, that he did actually slow down Marco's economy a little bit as well. So if we recall back to the start of the game, how we talked about how much time Marco wasted running around and not really doing anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's coming back to bite him now as well, right?
Definitely
It's not like the Portuguese player was, super loaded up, fully jacked up, ready to go. He had some problems of his own as well in H1, so not dealing with the scariest Portuguese counter army here as well is going to be quite beneficial.
He does, however, have 1,000 gold ready and a shipment nearly available as well, so I believe that signals to me that Mamelukes are going to be sent. And I don't think the Spanish player has the ability to deflect the Mamelukes. That is going to be the equalizer here. He needs to get that sent basically now. He's got that shipment available. He doesn't quite have the coin. He just needs to get that in queue, and the sooner that arrives, the better. During the meantime, though, we're just going to see the Spanish player pummel this town center with, of course, his falconets there. He needs to target the Falcons with the town center. It looks like he's what he's going to be doing. Yeah, it looks like Mamelukes are now on the way.
It took him a long time to get those Mamelukes in queue, though.
Here we go. He's coming in with the cavalry, though. Skirms do take a volley on them. Cannons being retasked. Are they going to get a shot off on the Cazadors? That would be really good, but they do not manage to do that. Needs to be careful with his units here. 2 musks on the front. Do go down. War Dogs coming on as well. These are going to be picked off by the Cazadors. This is exactly what Blue needs to get back into this fight, right? That cannon, one of the cannons getting very, very low on health, needs to stop trickling the units in and get this town center down ASAP. Though even if he does get that down, there is a second one for, of course, the next for the Mamelukes to actually arrive at.
The Mamelukes are going to be here very, very soon as well. We don't have the exact counter. They do take a very long time to send, like I think you were mentioning, but they are going to be here in a second.
Yeah, cannon number 1 does go down, though. Pikemen coming in as well to take down the town center to finish that off there, but the Cazadors going to get some damage on. I don't think it was worth it, though, because they're taking some damage from the Skirms. Mamelukes do arrive just as the town center goes down. The cavalry from the Spanish player, the Lancers coming in to do lots of damage versus the Cazadors, jamming everything in there, including his villagers. Some of the Mamelukes need to get back onto the cannon. That cannon there, though, is fighting a house. Is now retasked, by the looks of it, to a villager. He's right-clicking on stuff in the mass there. I think, though, Spain might have this. He's got plenty of pikes left. Yeah, Marco says GG. Rodlero's arrived as well. I think the 12 pikes and the 8 Rodlero shipment is definitely enough to even this up and to stop those mams.
And really what it comes down to is lionsden's play in the early game, right? Denying the Explorer, slowing down the Portuguese player. Imagine if this whole timeline is, expedited by a minute or two, which it certainly could be if you weren't running villagers all over the place in the early game and you hadn't allowed your opponent to steal the town, the trading posts and stuff like that. It could have been much, much quicker and much cleaner for Marco. Not the case. Lionsden able to make some good pressure, some good plays of his own to be able to deny the Explorer trying to build those advanced trading posts, and ends up taking the victory as a result of it. Just some good pressure, struck at a very strong timing. If you take a look at his shipments, right, 2 Phelps, both of the Lancer shipments, and then just some heavy infantry following that up, just a lot of units, and then using that advantage, using those units, pushing them forward, and playing aggressively with them. Hit his window very well, and executed his strategy efficiently.
And it says 4 and 3 Lancers, but it's actually 5 and 4, just verifying that. It's using, I'm not sure what it's using. The wrong pictures, perhaps, that's it. Yeah, he sent 9 rods and it's displaying as 8 as well. Anyway, that's not the point. Yeah, I think you summarized that very nicely, that particular game there, and resulting in a win for Lionsden. The score is now 1-1, which apparently I did not set on the scoreboards. I very rarely do that. I can set it now and it will remember it for the next game, which is good. So there is certainly that. The score is 1-1 in this series between Marco1698 and Lionsden. Don't go anywhere. The decider coming up in just a moment. 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 3 in this best of 3 series between Marco1698 and Lionsden for, of course, the round of 128 in the Autumn Championship 2016. Absolutely. We do have what looks like a British mirror going to be underway on Pampas Sierras of all maps here. I do wonder if it will be a British mirror, though, because Lionsden has not clicked in with Britain just yet. And I don't think he's on a break. He must be, and the only thing he can be doing right now is thinking about this map here. What do you think of British on a map like this?
Yeah, it's good, right? I mean, it's any civilization where you have extra means of booming, right? You certainly don't want to take a civilization who's very dependent on trading posts, as this map does not have a trading post present on it. It does have some decent livestock, so civilizations that tend to do well with livestock and not having trading posts actually do very, very well. Civilizations that come to mind are China and India specifically, but British also not very dependent on trading posts, have other ways of booming with their manners. A little bit of livestock can certainly help out any British player because they do tend to chew their way through food very, very quickly. And looks like both players are going to be selecting the British civilization as a result of all of those things. So.
Absolutely. We have the Lion's Den player. Did lose that first game, but coming back nicely in the second one with the Spanish Fast Fortress there. I wonder if he can keep this going. This is a mirror matchup, though, so now it does come down perhaps more to skill. So, Lion's Den, we're looking, this is your time to shine. Let us show what's going on there. Nicely crack shots that Blowgunner there and picks up the 40 XP treasure. And I imagine now the Explorer will head on over to the left-hand side of the map where we do see all of the llamas there. Of course, both players are going to be racing to those, obviously, to get the extra food in the later half of the game. By the looks of it, though, Blue not going to be doing that at all. Marco also playing British in the south. Here he is, as we mentioned, a British mirror, but sent his Explorer initially up the treasure side of the map, where perhaps some of the better treasures are. Only 2 treasures, and I'd say neither of these are particularly good. Maybe he can crack shot the rifle guy and come back later for it, something like that. But neither player are actually going to be going for the hunt for the llamas at all, Zio. What do you make of that?
Yeah, huge mistake, honestly, is all it is. It's just a big blunder by both players. And I think that's the difference between captain and major level play and, colonel, brigadier-ish level play. I certainly think that your PR35 pluses would immediately understand the benefit of having those cows. And certainly this is a situation where if either player had even taken a poor route down the left side, they would have all of those llamas completely uncontested. And, I mean, if you think about what llamas represent in terms of, 10-minute food economy, it's 3,000 plus food, right? I mean, if you can get all 8-10 of those llamas back to your control, fattened up at about 10 minutes, you're just going to have an absolute wealth of food. And with a civilization like British, where at some point the hunts are going to start to run a little bit, then at some point you're not going to have a great source of food income, having those, large number of llamas in your back pocket is a huge, huge resource. And I think it's just a blunder by both players not to go for that.
Yeah, I think so as well. But we do see 70 food being picked up by Marco here, and now he's going to proceed over to the llamas as well. So it looks like he is going to be able to get these llamas. I wonder if he'll just get these 2 at the top there and then proceed to scout his opponent, something like that. Or maybe he will make his way down and collect all of the llamas there. Has gone idle just briefly for a moment that 1 llama does get selected. The question is he going to go for the second one? In the meantime, Lion's Den, as we can see, his 3 settler shipment does arrive incredibly early, or earlier than his opponent, given that he did pick up that 40 XP. And I'm not sure if that 120 XP actually helped the shipment get there. I don't think it did, but it will certainly help his second shipment arrive. We can see he almost has a full shipment. The purple player does, and of course his opponent does not, so definitely a bit further ahead in terms of XP, and does take a crack shot on that 225 food as well. But neither player still going for the llamas, so there is that, certainly. I think at this point in time, though, I'm not sure what to make of it. It looks like one of the players is aging up, though. We do see now Marco is on up to the next age, going up with an 18 villager age up, and hence transitioned all of his villagers over to wood to get a couple of manners during transition. We do have a treasure contention, Zuta.
Yep. Looks like a very nice 225 food treasure. I missed who crack shot of the first outlaw rifleman. Did you happen to see?
Yeah, it was the purple player. Lion's Den took a crack shot on that. And it looks like Blue, I think, has his crack shot fully available. He's going to take out that last one. I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do, given that Purple is going to have his fully recharged the soonest. Definitely needs to get right on top. Maybe he doesn't realize that there were 3 in total. Maybe he doesn't realize how close the purple explorer is now coming in.
Here we go.
Yeah, he's probably got it available, the crack shot, that is. Yeah, he's going to crack shot it there. Is he going to pick it up in time? I think so. Yes, he is absolutely. Blue, you need to start attacking him right now. Does do that, but 225 food is now available for the, of course, Lion's Den, and that's going to put him a little bit further ahead, and I think, honestly, he's going to need it, given that he is the weaker player in this matchup.
Yeah, one thing I want to quickly point out as well is that Lion's Den sent a villager down here to the middle portion of the map very, very early on, with, I guess, the intention of getting some vision down with that one of those early manners so that he could try and hopefully stake out his claim to the middle portion of the map with an aggressive early barracks.
Yeah.
He has done that, and we'll see whether or not Marco starts moving any villagers any further forward, or whether he'll just be content. No, it looks like he's just going to be content to put down his barracks in a more defendable position. And it looks like lionsden is going to be the true aggressor here.
Yeah, that is an aggressive placement there. And hold on, he has 500 food available as well by the looks of it. I wonder what he aged up. He must have aged up with the Philosopher's Prince. Yeah, he's going for an aggro build then. He's got the 500 food down, going to convert that into muskets by the sounds of it. And Marco is instead going to be going for the outpost. He's going to put it right next to that barracks. That is a ballsy place to put it, but equally, definitely, you're going to give him a bit of extra defense potential, right? Like that's exactly wherever a musketeer is created, it's going to take damage getting out of range of that tower, and any muskets that come forward of that tower to siege that perhaps blockhouse or to go towards his opponent's base to fight the hunts, they're going to have to walk past the tower. That tower is going to get so much damage on any musketeer that's produced. That's a really nice place for it, right? Equally, though, it is quite close to the barracks, and therefore not going to be very defendable, but I think probably worth it, especially given his 5 musks are out sooner than his opponent.
Yeah.
The resign coming out right there. lionsden does resign. Game number 2, decided very, very early on there.
I mean, maybe a little preemptive, but I mean that's the
offering
last
a restart. I'm not sure if that's allowed anyway, but
yeah, I mean it's the deciding game, I guess, and look at Marco.
He's serious about this restart, isn't he? I wouldn't mind, but
Gibson says he has a semi-family emergency and he has to go. All right.
Well, that's GG then. I'm not. So he's leaving because he has something that's happened, not because he thinks he's lost. Though, given that the 5 musks are out quite quickly, and
his barracks is pretty abysmal here as well.
Yeah,
he's going to take a damage.
He's going to have like 10 musks pop out, right? Like, let's say he does get 10 musks out of those 2 Raxes. What do you think of that?
I mean, realistically, it's still probably not, just based on how quickly Marco's muskets came out and how much in advance they are out. Marco is going to have another 5 muskets coming soon behind this as well.
Yeah.
At which point, like, he'll have the tower and the 10-ish musks. And then at that point, Marco can like mix in 5 longbows, and because he's got the tower that's dissuading any of the pressure coming forward, he doesn't have to worry about setting up battle lines. So often we see situations where players are scared to start mixing in longbows because both players will have the towers, and even sometimes in high-level matches you'll see like the towers mix-massing each other where they're like positioned on top of each other's barracks. So you're kind of like, anytime you step forward, you start risk-taking damage from your opponent. That's not the case here for Marco, right? He could easily mix in 5 longbows. He doesn't have to worry about tower returning fire on his longbows and taking extra damage on those slightly squishier units. And so it's just like free DPS and free range for him.
Yeah.
Realistically, there's a ton of hunt here left for Marco. He's got his market up. He's got good upgrades. He's ahead in terms of economic unit population, or at least even. Certainly it's not over, right? But lionsden is in kind of a precarious situation here where it's just like going to be a little awkward for him getting amassed and then pushing into the blue player space.
Yeah, and like he's definitely behind for all the reasons you mentioned. That tower's really nicely positioned, but also has spent some of this early wood on second racks that perhaps won't be particularly useful once that initial surge of resources from the crates is used up, and that wood has not been made into a house, right? So it's not going to be an extra villager, which Marco presumably will be doing with his resources. So I think Marco would end up winning here in this match anyway. Plus is the more highly ranked player as well. But either way, we're not going to see anything different. lionsden does have to go. Marco offering a restart, even though I don't really think he needs to, but wanted to. Admirable, but does pick up this win and does progress through to the round of 64, where his next opponent will be. Let's take a look at the brackets. And we can do that just now. Autumn brackets. Oh my goodness, where are they? Autumn elimination brackets. Are you ready, Zuta? His next opponent is going to be Sompu Konku. So
who's Sampu playing in the, or who did Sampu play in the round of 128?
Sampu didn't need to play anyone. He got a free progression through. Have you seen how the brackets are set up for this particular tournament?
No, I haven't. I should probably look at it.
So the brackets in this particular tournament are people have been seeded into the round of 64 already based on their current ELO or / power rating, whatever it is, and previous tournament history. So people like H2O, Snow, Gaia, Chusik, Yuroshik, strong Mongo 10, Kaiser Klein, Maito, strong players that have done well in previous events or are just, strong players from ESO are already in the round of 64. And I believe that was done because it, puts, perhaps players that are less good at the game get to have more fun in the group stages playing against each other, and they get to have more fun in that first round, in that first elimination round, not having to fight any of the really, really strong players. And then they get through, so they get a bit longer to have fun before they have to fight someone really, really good at the game. And it also, what it does, I think, is seeds all of those really stronger players into, like they already get put in the round of 64, so it's kind of like they won't randomly have to fight each other early on for no reason. Like, it kind of sets up for a more interesting tournament, if that makes sense overall.
Yeah. Let's be honest, though, neither of these players was going to make it past the round of 16, because Victor Sui's in that round of 16 bracket, so truth be told, no one's going to make it up.
Big love heart for Vic.
You're just setting yourself up for failure if you're in Victor Sui's half of the bracket. I think Vic's going to go deep in this tournament.
You think he's trying super hard?
I think Vic's going to go at least round 16. Maybe he'll sneak into the round of 8.
I'd really like to play in the next tournament. I want to start practicing. I think I could give it a go. We'll have to see.
I'm old and washed up. I just like to watch at this point.
Yeah.
Sit in my lawn chair and yell at the young whippersnappers who still think that they can play.
You see, you're seeing yourself as this old guy, Zua, but you're just not.
I'm gonna be 27 in a couple months. That's old as shit, man. That's old.